He was once considered to be a more likely presidential candidate than his brother, but now it appears that Jeb Bush has given up any aspirations to become the commander-in-chief. The outgoing Florida governor told reporters in Miami that he has no future, his quote, when asked about any further political ambitions. So could these comments be the first sign of an impending end to the Bush political dynasty? For more on that, we're joined from Seattle by Ari Melber, a regular contributor to The Nation, also staff member for the 2004 John Kerry presidential campaign, and from Washington, former White House Deputy Press Secretary Trent Duffy. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Good morning.
Beginning with you, Ari, how much of Jeb Bush's decision do you think has to do with his brother's difficulty in office and the historically low approval ratings?
It has a lot to do with President Bush being a failure, being rejected by the voters. Jeb Bush was saying that he doesn't want to run for president. Well, Americans don't want him or George Bush to be president anymore. So this is a decision that has been made for him. When voters look at President Bush and the Republican Party, they see the party of Iraq, of Katrina, and of Enron. And we saw this in the midterm elections. Americans don't trust President Bush, or probably any Bush, with national security. So this is something that's coming from the American people.
Okay, now Trent, I'm sure you're going to dispute some of what he said, but Jeb certainly had been considered a strong potential candidate. So how much of a blow do you think this is overall to Republicans who thought that he could be the future of the party?
Well, I don't think this is any surprise. Governor Bush from Florida said he wasn't interested in running, but I do have to push back a little bit on what my colleague here said. President George Bush won 2 elections. He won more votes in 2004 than any other president in U.S. history, and that's a sign of strength and trust. Now, the Bushes have been a family that has served this country for hundreds of years, and I think they're going to continue doing that. There's George P. Bush, Governor Bush's son. There are the Bush twins that we've seen. So this is a family that has served this country very well with integrity and honesty, and I assume they will continue in that role.
And Ari, what do you think? Does this apparent end to a Bush political era? Do you think it makes way for a new dynasty, perhaps a Clintonian one?
Well, sure. I think that voters' distrust of not only Bush but the entire Republican Party opens up a lot of opportunities for Democrats. And the fact that they're a political dynasty actually detracts from the point that was just made about saying that he was popular. We know in politics that having a high name ID, that being from a well-known family and being very wealthy, which the Bushes are, is helpful. So it actually detracts from the point that they were naturally popular. Rather, people remembered President Bush's father, and who was widely believed to be a better president. They were thinking that President Bush right now would be a little bit like his father, and he's not. He's actually one of the worst presidents in history.
Actually, what I want to know is there going to be a Clinton dynasty?
Sure, the Clintons are very popular, and you're seeing Hillary running a strong early campaign here, as best we can tell, and is very popular. So the table's open for them, too, and a lot of other Democrats.
Hey, Trent, what do you think the Bush presidential legacy is going to look like when all is said and done, and we're looking maybe 20 years down the road?
You know, I think we're looking further than that, Alex, and I think the president addressed this yesterday, but these are tough times for America. These are tough times in our history, and the president's made some very difficult decisions, and history will be the judge of that. So the history books will be written, but I think this president has stood firm for democracy. He has led this country in a very difficult time. He brought us together after 9/11, and I think the history books will be very favorable to him, not only in the foreign policy side, but on the domestic side as well, with some major improvements to public education, to our Medicare system, and help for our seniors, as well as in other areas. So we'll see what happens.
We will indeed. Ari and Trent, we're going to have you back at the end of the hour. We're going to talk about how much it costs to become president. Unbelievable this year. So we'll be talking with you shortly about that. Thanks, guys.
Great.
Thank you.
He is the 5th.